Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services today, if you could please kindly turn off or silence all cell phones or electronic devices. Thank you.
Friends, with this affirmation, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed be the judge of truth on our lips, and with sadness in our hearts, we come together this morning to remember Morris with love and to share with his family our profound sadness at his passing. I'm going to begin the service with a selection from the book of Psalms. Psalm 121 is a prayer which ends with the affirmation that God will guard our souls in our going out and in our coming in. And we recite it this morning as a statement of faith that God will continue to guard Mo's soul now that he has gone out of our physical presence and come into God's eternal presence. I'm going to chant a few of the original Hebrew verses, and then I'll read a version of the psalm in English. Shir LaMahalot, Esa Einai Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri Mehim Adonai, Oseh Shamayim Evaretz, Al Yitein Lamot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha, Hine Lo Yanum Velo Yishan, Shomer Yisrael. I will lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot slip. Your guardian never slumbers. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord will be your protector. The Lord will give you shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. The Lord will keep you from all evil and preserve your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forever. The 23rd Psalm expresses our conviction that even when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we are never alone, that God is always with us and gives us support, strength, and courage equal to our needs. So if you are familiar with the words of the 23rd Psalm, I invite you to join me in reciting it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is a special blessing when family members are able to offer their expressions of love, admiration, and yearning at a time like this. And so I'm going to call on three of Morris's four children, Howard, Ellen, and then Steve, to share with us some of their special memories and love for their dad. So, Howard?
Hi, everyone. Whether you knew our dad as Morris, Mo, or Mike, he was a hardworking, friendly person. He had a long life full of work, family, joys, love, loss, and more love, l'chaim. Reflecting on the many phases of his life helps me and may help you reflect and find joy in a long life, live simply and honestly. Sorry, my eyes are not helping me here. Wearing my contacts. Since Dad was good at math and numbers, I thought I would divide this out kind of in like phases and numbers and letters. So Bear with me as I go through this. This is like a retelling of how he went. Okay, so phase one, arrival and growing up. Dad was born August 19th, 1932, as the sixth of 7 children to Hyman and Eva Chazin, who both emigrated to the United States around 1911, 1912. It's hard to say by the records. From what now is Odessa, what was Odessa, is now it's really Ukraine now, but back then was Russia. But you were just Jewish back then. Hyman came here, he was a tailor, and self-made man, had a tailor shop on 3rd Street in Chester. And the Chazins, they grew quickly into a big family. Harry, Abe, Jake, Sarah, Albert, our dad, Morris, and then Bernie. They all grew up relatively poor by today's standards, leaving homes to work, marry, and raise their own children. Dad would often say that they were so poor, they didn't nearly have a Hanukkah menorah. Around Hanukkah, they took a brick, and they took out the handles, and that's where they melted them, on a brick. So he said if you didn't get to the dinner table on time, you didn't eat, which I thought was great. So from that point on, Dad always was grateful for everything he had, especially a good meal. We'll get back to his love of food a little bit later. While he was growing up, he played basketball for his local AZA chapter and was a good student. I actually looked this up. At Chester High School, he was in the Industrial Arts program. So that's what it was called back then, Industrial Arts. Phase 2, getting married. Dad met her mother, Barbara Faust, who sadly passed away at age 70 in 2006, at a party in Northeast Philadelphia. And when he was a teenager, actually, when they were like 17 and 18, or 17 and 19. And then they lost track of each other. And then when Dad was in the Army, they started corresponding to each other. He spent his 2 years in the Army. And then they got engaged and married. And at the time, and that was in 1955, Mom was 20 and Dad was 23. This was the start of 50 years of Barb and Mo. So we'll just say that's Barb and Mo. Dad, at the time, put himself through night school at Temple University and got certified in mechanical drawing and design. His brothers and sister affectionately called him the professor. And he didn't really have a real knack for drawing block letters and numbers and drawing. And when we were kids, we saw him briefly when he had a big drawing desk in the garage that he built himself when he did little side jobs. Phase 3, building a family. We, his 4 kids, all came into the world in rapid succession as the family grew in the 50s and 60s. First Ellen, then me, then Steve, then Keith. At first, we lived in a duplex in Northeast Philadelphia, and then in 1968, we moved to Willingboro, New Jersey, to be close to our Aunt Roz, Uncle Don, and cousins Susan and Michael, who are here today. Thank you. It was a busy time raising 4 children in the 60s and 70s. We were those kids who would be out all day on our bikes and told not to come back until the streetlights came on. And we liked roaming the streets. The house was small. The burgers were as black as hockey pucks. They were. And to add to the dysfunction, we had this large dog named Cheryl the sheepdog. Thanks to Dad, though, we always had enough food on the table. I can't say it was the best food in the world. Clothes on our back, not the most expensive clothes. Educations, bar mitzvahs, etc. He did the best that he could, raising us. But we were 4 very different kids with 4 very different ideas about how we wanted to live our own lives. So those times were a huge change in society, too. So it wasn't always roses and sunshine. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears. Phase 3A. Let's go down a little. Work. Dad worked a lot. So for most of Dad's career, he worked at the David Sarnoff Research Center, a division of RCA in Princeton, New Jersey. Dad worked on many things, but in the 60s and early 70s, he worked on designs of machinery that helped to assemble televisions back in the days. Those big televisions with cathode ray tubes, well, he helped design some of the machines that put those together. They supported the television equipment was made and how it was assembled. Dad did many other things too. But when computer-aided design started being rolled out to replace actual humans like Dad who could draw really well like this, he started thinking about retirement. Sounds a bit like what AI is doing now to some people's careers. Steve really connected to Dad's technical work and those models he brought home. Those design mock-ups from Sarnoff Labs were integral to Steve's discovery and love of computers and technology. When Dad was temporarily laid off from RCA in the early 70s when the NASA space program was put on hold, as RCA was a subcontractor to NASA, Dad would take Steve, Keith, and me with him to work with Norm the caterer in the Northeast. We were doing bar mitzvahs and weddings. We put on our tuxes and served meals, sometimes French service with white gloves. Would you like coffee, tea, or senka with your large chocolate eclair? Some sweet and low? Remember that? That was a lot of fun. Great memories. Dad was a hard worker, always with a pleasant smile. He was quiet, but he loved life. But one thing he liked even more after a hard week of work was his sports. Sports, phase 3B. Oh yes, you know Dad was to know his enthusiasm for the Phillies, the Eagles, and the Flyers. Remember the evening bulletin in the Burlington County Times? Back when we had, daily newspapers. You kids wouldn't know about that. Well, when they arrived at our house, invariably the sports section would be in Dad's hand. He'd be curled up in the couch reading the latest news. Forget the headlines. The sports section was Dad's daily read. It's true. No matter the season, the family TV was loud, and when the game was on, you heard and saw Dad up out of the couch screaming at the television, "What's wrong with you guys?" Or "It's a miracle," or "You bugger," or some kind of strange thing he'd yell, and you saw him really animated. Often he'd have a huge smile on his face when his teams were winning, and a very sad face when his teams were not doing so well. When he'd come to visit our family in D.C., I would take him to the Redskins-Eagles games at FedEx Field. Those specific season tickets would always be held for Dad and me to go. So he loved those games. So he'd go down there with me in his Eagles jersey, and he'd be high-fiving all the Eagles fans, and had a great time. And of course, invariably, with Dad as our good luck charm, the Eagles would almost always beat the Redskins year after year. So he was really happy to go to those games. Lucky for him to appreciate many years of Philadelphia's teams. I'm only highlighting a few here. The Flyers winning 74 and 75 Stanley Cups, the 1980 and 2008 Phillies World Championships, and of course, the Eagles Super Bowl wins in 2018 and 2024. He got to spend a lot of those recent Eagles wins and fun times with Keith on his big screen TV and sharing those great sports moments together. Wow, what a way to go out on a Super Bowl, Dad, He told me that the reason he loved sports was that you never knew it was going to happen. Now we have to take a little moment to acknowledge Dad's love of food. He was born with an iron stomach. That guy could eat anything. He loved all those traditional Jewish foods: bagels, cream cheese, lox, knishes, kishka, kugel, whitefish salad, pastrami, corned beef. It was at the deli. It was on Dad's food favorites: steak sandwiches at Catano's, chicken parmesan at the Olive Garden, almost anything at the Golden Dawn Diner. In his retirement, Dad started cooking. He was cooking brisket, prakas, stuffed cabbage, if you don't know a little Yiddish. And he made these chocolate chip cookies all the time and bring Jewish apple cake. Why wasn't he cooking like that when we were kids? I don't know. It's just true. Dad was generous in giving. Our own family started to grow. First the marriages: Ellen and Roy, Steve and Denise, Howard and Rosina, Keith and Kara. Then their grandchildren arrived. First Amy, then Scott, Jonah, Eric, Joseph, Matthew, Samuel, Zach, Tyler, and finally Victoria. 2 girls and 8 boys. Wow. Sadly, just a few years after the last grandchild was born, Mom got cancer and passed away. Phase 4, life without Mom. After Mom died, Dad didn't just stay alone for long. He joined a bereavement support group, took us all on a cruise to Jamaica and Grand Cayman Island, traveled to Israel, and went on a few cruises. He developed a new summer program of woodworking at the JCC summer camp in Medford, where Ellen also worked. How nice that Ellen and Dad got to connect that way. I think that's great. Dad designed and built these small wood projects like paper towel holders, wooden shelves, napkin holders, and key holders. Dad would pre-cut the individual pieces on his table saw and bandsaws in our garage in our house in Willingboro, and bring the supplies to the camp or school program where the kids would use hand tools for maybe sometimes for the first time, sanding, gluing, nailing the pieces together and staining them and taking their treasures home. There are dozens of kids out there who brought these treasures home to their parents. He also would bring these wood kits to our houses, and our kids would build them together too. I still enjoy some pictures we have of our kids building a shelf together with him. What a legacy of giving and sharing what he knew how to do best, to design and to build. Phase 5, life in Florida. As time went on, it got harder for Dad to get around, and he moved. Well, we got him moved. We moved him in 2019 to the Grand Villa of Fort Myers, independent living. And he had a great time there, enjoying meals, watching his sports, of course, going to the casino, and his time with Meg, his girlfriend, who lived across the hallway. That was the time of Meg and Mike, apparently, Meg and Mike, for a few years. And at that time, he always remembered everyone's birthdays. He'd always send cards and checks. And for his own birthdays, enjoyed going out to Rib City. We'd have his beer and his ribs. It's true. For his 90th, we all got together to celebrate a surprise party for him at Keith's house in Florida. And this time period in Florida was good for Dad. We not quite didn't all figure out why every time we'd call him, he just wanted to get off the phone quickly. So it's just really interesting. So I'll try to illustrate that. I can't do it really him justice, but I'll do a little bit. So when you call him, you get this quick, well, when something like, you went like this, right? Like, hi, Dad, how are you? Well, good, hanging on. How you doing? How's your kids? How's your wife? How's your job? You know, then you talk for like a minute or two. Okay, great. It was nice talking to you. I have to go now. I said to Dad, where do you have to go? I got to let you go now. That's what he said. It was great talking to you. Bye. I love you. Bye. 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 I love you, Dad. I love you. I love you too. Bye. Click. And the phone goes over. And about 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I think, on average. And then I was just thinking about that. And Rosina was helping me think about that. I was thinking, why were they so short? And then we kind of came to the conclusion, all right, that those phone calls might have been just very short to us, but maybe enough for Dad, Maybe that's all it was he needed to fill himself up. Maybe that you just cared enough to call and update him about your life. And he knew you were busy, and he knew he respected your time. But that's all that mattered to him, that you cared enough to call. And for everyone who called him, right, and you left him a message because he couldn't answer you, I asked him. He told me himself, while he was at assisted living, he said, I listened to every single phone message and enjoyed them all. But sometimes I just wasn't very good at getting back to people. Phase 6, wind down and goodbye. So we're near the end of Dad's story. Last year, he developed bladder cancer, began falling more, and we moved into Amavita Assisted Living in February, with host hospice doing a great job with nursing care. He was still doing great and had just made it to his 93rd birthday on August 19th, but rapidly declined and passed away peacefully on the morning of September 16th, and here we are. It's not easy to summarize a person's full life in just a few pages. In summary, Morris, Mo, Mike, whatever name you want to call him, was a hell of a guy. A great man, husband, brother, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, uncle, and friend. He led his life being happy with what he had, providing for his family, working hard, being a great supporter of the Philly sports teams, and of his family, kids, grandkids, and friends. Everywhere he went, people loved him because he was so easy to love, and he asked for so little in return. What a way to live. Finally, thank you, Dad, for your love, wisdom, and guidance. You lived a long life with a perpetual smile on your face. There were pictures on the web, and we started gathering pictures of him ourselves to put a photo share together, and every one of them, he's just smiling away. From you, I learned my strong work ethic. I learned how to be more patient in times of stress. I learned how to fix things myself, and I also learned you don't really need very much in life to make you happy. Dad's love will continue on through his legacy of his family and our memories. I hope you spend some time today sharing your favorite stories too. Dad, we love you. God bless you in your next journey. And for all of you today, thanks for coming. Thanks for your support. And also, Shana Tova. Happy New Year.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm not going to be able to copy what Howard just said. However, I'm just going to touch a little bit about my memories of all of us. Some of us are here growing up. Susan, Michael, Roy, just the whole family, how I remember Thanksgiving, and so many of us have different memories. But I'm just going to touch on, not to reiterate what Howard said about camp, but it is true. I started in the summer of 2000, and I said, Dad, one day, I was in Camp Aaron and Camp Shalem, and I was teaching arts and crafts and fiber arts, and I said, Dad, I think you would really, really like working here. So he applied, and he was there the following summer. And the reason I was working there was to help cut the cost for Scott and Amy to attend, so it made sense. So anyway, I thought they would love you. And just like Howard said, everything here, design, created, small projects. As a matter of fact, there's a piece right in here. You could hold it up, Denise. I don't know if that's actually what he would do, but it was a small piece, something like that. That was like a game, and he created these, that's a tic-tac-toe board where it had X's and O's, and some of the, or Joe, I mean, Sam, you remember too, and Eric, I'm sure all these kits went home to your house, so. Yeah, he made the paper towel holder, and the tic-tac-toe board and the mug. I had a mug rack too, so it was really fun. So anyway, yeah, he would see the campers once a week. They would sign up for woodworking as an activity. Then he would see them once a week and then finish up the projects the following week. But we kept the projects there because they weren't ready to be sent home. So we had these amazing shelves, and that's where they were stored. So I would go over and see him during the breaks just to see what he was working on. And it was just, like you said, Howard, it was pretty interesting because they were all with the counselors putting these pieces together, and it was kind of neat. And he did bring those chocolate chip cookies to camp as well. So he was very excited about that. Anyway, yeah, and he made a lot of new friends. As a matter of fact, I connected with one of the women that he taught with, and she was so sorry for our loss. So I think the memory that I'll take with me is when he made this stool, this amazing stool for this one camper, just to go over and see this person carry it away to take home. That just struck me as, look at this project. It's just amazing. So, but anyway, we love you, Dad. We'll miss you. I have memories of, yeah, as far as how he helped me, I think some of the things that he made, food-wise, Howard, like you were saying, thought, oh, maybe I should try that. So, yeah, so that's it. That's what I have to say. So we'll miss you, and we love you, and thank you for everything you've taught us. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howard and Ellen. I didn't remember a lot of those things. And thank you all for coming. It really means a lot to see you all here. 8 days ago, I had this great honor of being the Sondek at my first grandson's bris. And as I sat in the chair of Elijah, it dawned on me, I wasn't thinking about it, but it just popped into my head that this is exactly what my dad did for me when my first sons were born. And now I was doing it for my son. And as they handed Ezekiel, which we call Zeke, down to me, I started thinking of like, what other things get handed down through generations? Would my grandson take some of our dad's traits to him? And sadly, like less than 2 days later, Dad had passed, and that thought like went out of my head, but I've been thinking about it ever since. And I'm kind of hoping, actually strongly hoping, that my grandkids get two of Dad's greatest traits, which are perseverance and positivity, which are often not found in the same person. You can tell my dad's a role model for those things because that's kind of how I've tried to live, but this isn't about me, it's about Dad. On the perseverance side, for most of his adult life, he was the sole breadwinner for a family of 6 people and a dog. And that's kind of hard to do today on good days. But
in the 70s, at the height of the economic recession and interest rates were double digits, he lost his job. And rather than feel sorry for himself, he hustled. Howard mentioned how he took us to this catering job. This is not an easy job, and he did it on Saturdays and Sundays, morning and night. And if you had a bar mitzvah or you went to a wedding in the Cherry Hill area, you probably saw him or us waiting on you. If I ever spilled wine dressing on your white suit, I'm still sorry, because that happened. But that was just the first thing he did. He did like light carpentry work. He would knock on doors and businesses and ask if they needed help. I remember him paying off my part of my braces bill by erecting dividers between the dental chairs at my dentist office. He was very proud of that, where Ellen and I went, Dr. Coben in Philly. Pretty impressive. And then he did contract design work in this table in the garage, and he put one in the kitchen when it got cold. It was like the OG home office for me. It was like doing work all the time. But I remembered him doing fiber optic lighting for dental appliances for dentists, and very early designs for computer chips, which he was doing with paper tape and stickers, which they would then photo reduce and turn into a chip. That's where the term printed circuit came from. But it was amazing to me as a little kid seeing that my dad could think of something, draw it, and it became a thing in the real world. Like you could reach out and change the world. That was amazing to me. It was like magic. He got his job back at RCA later. I'm not sure how many years that was. Somebody told me it was like 4 or 5 years that he was out of work, which is incredible when you think about it. And I think he determined he was never going to lose that job again. So he doubled down at work. He would take us sometimes to work. And as a young kid, when you go into this big building with all this equipment, all these people running around creating stuff, it really was like the future. It expanded your mind. When I was 12, he brought home a kit where you can build a computer with a soldering iron. Mike, you know what I'm talking about. And this is this was before there was an Apple computer. RCA didn't know what they were going to do with this, but they just started it. And Dad brought it home, and I fell in love with it. And Keith and I used to do football simulations on it, if you can believe that, in 1970 something. And it obviously changed the course of my career. And my best friends were wondering what I was doing, spending so much time on a computer. But the thing I take away the most from those visits to RCA was the respect people had for our dad. Like, they liked him as a person, and they admired who he was as a father and a husband. It was incredible. About 20 years later, while I was now working at Apple, a job I never would have had without my dad's influence, he thought he was going to lose his job again. This is near the end of his career. And rather than get depressed, he hustled again. He bought his own first home computer, a Mac. He taught himself the CAD program that was going to disenfranchise him from a job. And he went a step further. He went back to work and taught all the other designers how to use that tool, which is incredible. And then maybe 2 years later, he asked me to come do a lunch and learn about a new Apple product for his group at RCA. And every single person there came up to me and told me that our dad extended their careers. Like, it wasn't just for him, it was for them. And to me, that's amazing. That's that perseverance that I just admire. On the positivity side, the first story I remember him telling us was when he was a young kid, he shared a bed with 3 other brothers, and he slept at the base of the bed, either the foot or the bottom, like it was nothing. And he's always been positive, and it's remarkable to me that he just kept that attitude. There's so many examples of things I can talk about. It's hard when you realize how much your dad means to you, you know. You can't think straight. I'm looking at pictures of him on my watch to remember a few. Yeah, I've got him on my watch. I'll just try to get through a couple of pictures. I guess the biggest thing about Dad is rather than complain about how bad life is or can get, he always looked on the positive, right? Which is a rare trait even today. A few things I remember. One day he picked us up from Hebrew school, and we drove right past our house. I was like, Dad, where are we going? And he had hidden a baseball bat and glove behind the seat, and he took me to play baseball. I don't know, Keith, if you were there. And I don't know if Mom ever knew that we took that excursion, but like I remember that, how he just wanted to spend some time with us. Later, we were playing football in our street, and I guess he saw it as an opportunity to come spend time with his kids. And he kicked this football straight down Eptide Lane, which today I think is the furthest and highest a football has ever been kicked in my memory. And I know he was there yesterday for the Eagles game, blocking that kick. When we sent him to Florida, we bought him a Fruit of the Month club, and he would call us every time he got one and thank us for that. I remember the last time he was like, "Oh, thank you a million times." He just couldn't get enough of that. And then when Denise would send him challahs down there, he wanted to make them last, so he would always say he would just had a little stickle with some jelly on it so he could make it last. If there's one kind of thing that I just need to like portray about our dad, and if it's one thing I could put out in the world that could maybe improve it, it's that as bad as things got, and they weren't great, he never complained. I never heard him complain once, and we were talking about this the other day. I never heard him curse once. He didn't complain when he used to take Keith and me asleep from our beds, putting us in the back of the Country Squire station wagon on a piece of carpet that he had cut to drive us to pick up Mom from work when she was having to hustle also in the summer in her night shift. I don't know how many years he did that, but I remember waking up in the middle of the back of the station wagon. He never complained when they racked up incredible credit card debt while he was unemployed. He didn't complain when Mom changed his name from Mo to Mike, in spite of the fact that he had a perfectly healthy nephew named Mike. What else? He didn't complain when he had to go pick up our grandparents from Philly for every event because they couldn't drive. He would go there, drop them off, pick them up. Uncle Donnie would do the same. It was just part of what you did. He didn't even complain when Mom died. In fact, as Howard pointed out, he took us all on a family trip to Bermuda. And he didn't complain when he knew he was dying of cancer. And Keith told us that the people who worked with him loved him simply because he was just a bright light to be around. That's our dad. If he had one message that I know he wants to send to us from where he is, it is always be positive. And that's how he lived his life. And if you're stuck in a moment where things are tough, just remember that. I think that'll get you through it. So let me end the way Dad ended all of our averaged 55-second phone calls. I don't know how you got 2 minutes, Howard. He definitely liked you. The way I remember it, he would say, "Other than that, I'll let you go." Yeah. So that's it. So I think if somehow we could take, and our kids and grandkids can take a little bit of Dad's positivity and his perseverance, we'll never let him go. I love you, Pops.
Wow. Howard, Ellen, Steve, those were really incredible tributes to your father. And all I can say is I think any parent would be honored to have their children speak about them with so much love and so much admiration, and having learned so many good lessons about life from their lives. So as we gather here this morning, I want to extend our sympathy to Howard and Rosina, Ellen and Roy, Steve and Denise, Keith, to the grandchildren. And, what a blessing to have so many grandchildren. Amy and Pete, Scott, Jonah and Emma, Eric, Joseph, Matthew, Samuel and Virginia, Zachary, Tyler, and Victoria, and 2 great-grandchildren, Eliana and Ezekiel. To have so many descendants from one couple is really just such a blessing. It indicates how life just continues to expand, and what a special privilege it is to see family grow, and I'm sure that was one of the things that meant so much to him. We also want to remember his parents, Hyman and Eva, of blessed memory. As Howard said, he was the 6th of 7 children. I know that his brother Albert and his brother Bernie and his wife Linda continue to cherish your father with great love. And we also remember Abe, Harry, Jacob, and Sarah. And one of the things you all shared with me was that when your mother and dad married, your mother loved his big family. She came from a small family, and she found it so charming to be with all of these people who talked over one another, who were rollickingly happy, and it was just a joyous experience for everyone to get together and everyone to be together. When we go out to the cemetery shortly, we will reunite Barb and Mike. And, after a separation of almost 20 years, we can invoke the words of Scripture that they were loving and devoted companions in life, and now in death are no longer separated. And I know that in your hearts they've never been apart, but they will continue to be a source of great strength, the cornerstone of your family, as they always have been. Tonight we begin the new year. It is the eve of Rosh Hashanah, and one of the prayers that we recite in the Rosh Hashanah liturgy is Zochrenu l'chaim, remember us for life, Kotvenu b'sefer hachayim, inscribe us in the book of life. And so when we think of this imagery of a book of life, we know that at this point, the last word of your father's life has come to a close. The years are concluded. And yet the truth is that life is not really a book that ends. It is a chapter that ends, and then the next chapter is taken on by the next generation and the one after that. It's more like a relay race than anything else, and we pass the baton from generation to generation. And what better symbol than his great-grandson was born just 10 days or so ago? And to the idea that is also in Scripture, one generation passes and another comes to take its place. And so Ezekiel and Morris overlapped a little bit, but it was part of the passing of the baton from one generation to some of the next generations. So we pray that his memory will always be a blessing, that you will always find the perseverance and positivity that he lived with in your own lives, and that you will remember always that love, wisdom, and guidance that Morris provided to all of you, and that in that way his memory will continue to be a blessing, and his life will continue to be an inspiration for good, for peace, for blessing, for life. May his memory be a blessing, and may his soul rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen. Friends, if you are comfortable standing for the memorial prayer, the El Malei Rachamim, I invite you to rise as we recite the prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamaromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'mahalot Kedoshim U'Tehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Mordechai ben Chaim v'Chava שהלך לעולמו. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו, אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Morris Chazin, who has gone to his eternity. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the goodness and love, the positivity and perseverance with which he led his life and which continues to inspire us all. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Friends, please be seated. Following the service here in the chapel, the interment will be at Shalom Memorial Park in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. And those who would like a memorial contribution in Morris's memory are encouraged to do so to the JCC camps at Medford, New Jersey.
May we have the pallbearers to the center aisle,